Yeah, welcome to another MMA Grind. Schizo Jits here with the UFC 317 breakdown of the main event. Ilia Topuria and Charles Do Bronx Oliveira going for the vacated, undisputed lightweight belt. And this will be in Las Vegas, International Fight Week, the most highly anticipated fight of the year so far, for sure. We got Khamzat and DDP coming up, but up until this point, this is the craziest fight, the most anticipated. We thought we were going to get Ilia versus Islam. That didn't happen. It's going to be Islam and JDM later in the year, but we got Charles Do Bronx. So the champ has a name. Will it be once again champ as Charles Do Bronx, or is it going to be and new with Ilia Topuria? Either way, it's going to be a banger of a fight. I can't wait. And this fight right here is must-watch TV. You cannot miss this fight. This fight is going to be fireworks from the opening bell. We all know what both guys bring to the table. Charles Do Bronx with his ferocious shoot-toe box, high knees, high guard, walk forward, Muay Thai style, and Ilia with his bobbing and weaving, head movement, level feints, his boxing heavy style with leg kicks. He's literally a boxer with leg kicks in there, with a great wrestling background, with his coming from Georgia. He's got a Georgia wrestling background. So we got that, and we got, obviously, Do Bronx. He brings in the most submissions and most finishes in UFC history. I believe he's like 21 submission victories, something like that. Whatever it is, it's crazy. It's a crazy number. And what also is crazy is that Charles Oliveira has only went to a decision. His illustrious career, he's only seen a fifth-round decision one time, and that was his last fight against Michael Chandler. So I don't expect this one to be going more than 3 rounds personally. So I think it's definitely going to be a finish, probably a knockout finish, maybe a submission finish after somebody gets hurt. But yeah, this is going to be an absolute war banger of a fight for as long as it lasts. If it lasts a minute and a half, it's going to be a crazy fight up until that minute and a half. If it lasts 3 rounds, you already know it's going to be edge of your seat, kind of like what's going on, because they both bring it. They're both coming forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Ilia does the same number what he did with Max in his last fight and points to the center of the octagon like, let's go. Because, when you think about it, like Charles Oliveira has a perfect style for Ilia Topuria. He was going to come forward. He does the shoot-toe box thing, kind of the Muay Thai style, high knees, head stands tall. And he comes forward. He marches forward. He's marching in. He's like feinting knees. He's throwing teeps, to the body. So he's definitely gonna bring the pace. Usually Charles Oliveira's in your face from the opening bell. You look at what he did to Justin Gaethje. He literally rocked Justin Gaethje the first 10 seconds of the fight. He cracked him, and that's the hardest Gaethje said he had ever gotten hit up until he got knocked out by Max Blessed Holloway. But that's a different story. So we'll get into the breakdowns of this fight and who I gonna predict to win in this fight. And first we'll talk about the keys of victory for each fighter. So both fighters, this is a 50-50 fight. Yes, Ilia is a huge favorite. I think he's like a minus 400 or something like that, 450 favorite as we speak. So he's a huge favorite, in this fight, but you cannot count out Charles Oliveira. He's going to be dangerous from everywhere, every step of the way. Every second of this fight is going to be danger for both fighters, honestly. Let's say it's a 50-50 fight, but obviously, Topuria is a favorite for a reason. He just starched Volkanovski and Max Holloway back-to-back. No one had ever knocked out Max Holloway. He knocked him out. 3-round war, wasn't even breathing hard. I don't think cardio is going to be a factor for Topuria with his pace. He's real patient with his head movement, kind of picks his shots. He's not really doing... He does throw big. He does throw some hard shots and misses. This is going to be a test because he is moving up from 145 to 155. And, it's 10 less pounds he's not going to have to cut. Will his power, the big question is his power going to translate at 155? We've seen one fight at 55 with Jai Herbert, and Jai Herbert, really just perfect head kick, dropped him in the first round of their fight. But Ilia Topuria showed his grit, got the takedown, kind of worked himself back into the fight in that first round. He still probably lost that round, but comes back in the second round and just knocks him dead. Just one of the nastiest ugliest, scariest knockouts you're ever going to see. You know, he just dropped Jai Herbert, you know, like just like that. And Jai Herbert has a, you know, obviously he's not the same skill level as a Charles Oliveira anywhere. Maybe stand up, you know, he does have some similar attributes. He had like an 8-inch reach advantage. He was 6'1", you know, so obviously Topuria is going to be a smaller guy in there. Charles Oliveira, if you look at the tail of the tape, Charles Oliveira is going to be a 5-inch reach disadvantage. He has a 69-inch reach to 74 for Charles Oliveira, and that could be key. It could be key in a stand-up. It could also be key in the grappling exchanges. So it's definitely could be a factor. But one point that I haven't really heard people talking about, like, let's just think, Topuria's been short like his whole life, right? So I mean, he's used to fighting the taller guy. You know, like, it's not like it's something new. He's going to be outsized or shorter than his opponent. I mean, and kind of like what he said in an interview, he said, well, if someone's talking crap to my wife or something, I'm not going to say, oh, hey, how much do you weigh? Or how tall are you? Like, you're just going to handle business, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I kind of like that mindset, that mentality. It's pretty much any fighter's mindset or mentality. You got to be a little crazy and ready to take on all challengers and challenges, but I'm also thinking that he's used to fighting the taller guy. He's always going to be a shorter guy in there, so I don't think it's that big of a factor, but unless Charles knows how to use it, because Charles, you know, he does know how to use his range with his teep kicks, his, you know, I'll get into all that, his leg kicks, his body kicks, that real fast front kick. So, I mean, he definitely knows how to use his range and with the wrestling, but we'll get into that. Like, let's just jump into it. The keys of victory that I see for Charles Oliveira to take this fight is, number one, just his jab and straight punching. You know, jab and straight punches to offset Ilya's rhythm and timing, because Ilya's going to be in there bobbing and weaving, ducking and dodging, and he does a lot of level feints as well. So if you're, you know, like, you go back to Vernon Forrest, it was an old reference in boxing, Vernon Forrest against Sugar Shane Mosley, who was fast as shit. He was one of the fastest hands in boxing back in the day, right? Well, they asked Vernon, R.I.P. actually, he passed away, but how do you deal with that speed? And he always said a good stiff jab, fast jab, always beats speed, because he's going to offset that timing, offset that rhythm, and just kind of make you think a little extra. Like, when you're trying to just rush in, you're going to get hit with a jab. And if you look back at Volkanovski and Max Holloway, both had a lot of success on Ilya with the jab. And later on, Ilya was ever to come over the top with that jab, you know, kind of count, like, you know, he started timing the jab and just going, instead of, you know, covering up, he was just throwing right over the top of it, which we'll get to on his keys of victory, but anticipating and stuff like that, making those reads. But they did have a lot of success. Like, Volk was kind of tagging him with that jab. He had him busted up a little bit. So was Max. Max was outlanding him. I mean, Max was working at an insane pace. That was some of the best work we ever seen from Max, kicking wise, a lot of movement. You know, he threw a lot of volume at Ilya, but the whole time Ilya's making reads and adjustments and getting that timing down. So that's another thing that Charles will have to be wary of. Like, obviously he wants to throw that jab out there to offset the timing, but, you know, if this goes into a second and third round, Ilya could start timing that jab and just coming with the right hand right over the top of it and catching Charles the Bronx as well. So, but that's definitely the number one key, I think, to start off. Also, just pressure forward. Charles Oliveira is always marching forward, always, you know, don't change up now. Don't start dancing around. Don't be like Zalal Muhammad out there and trying to bounce around and, you know, like stick and move and do all that type of fancy footwork stuff, because that's not really his style. I think you can't really change it for one opponent like that. Don't do, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think his key to victory will be to pressure Ilya. We don't really see Ilya on the back foot too often. Usually from the opening bell, he's marching forward, he's closing that distance, and he's getting in your face into the boxing range, where he's, you know, can land some combos. So I think Charles Oliveira is going to basically have to meet fire with fire. You know, train wreck, car crash, get in there and meet him in the middle and throw some bombs as well. Like, just make him pay and just make it a dirty fight, but also just, you know, like, get in his face and go forward. Try to get Ilya going backwards. We haven't really seen Ilya going backwards too much, and if he gets Ilya going backwards, that's going to take away some of Ilya's momentum, his power, and also the leg kicks, because it's not, you don't normally see people like throwing leg kicks going backwards, you know, circling her out or just going backwards anyway. So, I mean, it'll start putting Ilya into a corner. He could really start seeing the size of Charles. That could make a difference if he can just keep marching forward and doing what he does. Charles Oliveira, I think if you see most of the success of Ilya's knockouts, they're always with his opponent up against the cage. Volk, Max, I mean, everybody, Bryce Mitchell, he rocked him kind of like towards that warning track, you know what I mean? But most of the guys he has knocked out even before the UFC, one guy he knocked out before the UFC was also back against the cage. So, you know, Jai Herbert, same thing. He was up against the cage, basically, nowhere to go, just no side to side, just going straight back. And this Ilya was able to catch him because he throws a lot of combos. He mixes it up, body, head. So that's definitely something that Charles has to work on. And also, like I said, I think his like don't back up, like I'm saying, and use a lot of feinting with his knees. He kind of already does that when he marches forward. He kind of keeps real light on that lead leg, but throws show those knees. Like Jai Herbert even was able to knock Ilya's mouthpiece out with a knee because Ilya's always constantly doing his head movement and feints and also fake. You know, if Charles could feint those knees, maybe it might make Ilya think twice about ducking his head in there, you know, because he's going to be a lot shorter and Charles is a lot taller with those high knees, so it'd be a lot easier for him to reach him there. Max did throw some knees. He did throw some in there, threw a lot of body kicks to head kicks to try to catch Ilya, ducking and bobbing and weaving. You know, wasn't so successful, but still, I mean, Charles is a different animal, a different skill set than Max. You know, he's not so much a boxer. He's more of a Muay Thai fighter, so he's a little light on that lead leg and throws the knees up a lot quicker, flying knees and everything else in there. Excuse me. Yeah, and I'm saying just also use teeps, traditional, just straight up front kicks, you know, like a snapping front kick, you know, to the body and to the head, you know, but to the body especially. We never really seen Ilya hurt to the body too much. I think that's another way to stop someone's forward momentum when they're always trying to come forward. If you look at say John Jones and DC when they fought, DC was coming with relentless pressure, you know, just trying to get to John Jones. And John Jones just kept TPing in front kick to the body, and it was just stopping DC in his tracks. And I think, you know, Charles having the way he is with his kicks, he's real fluid with his front kicks and teeps. I think he could have some success with Ilya there. Ilya, at least to slow Ilya down and make him think about just coming in and bobbing and weaving and just trying to close that distance. So he's going to have to maybe be a little even more patient because Ilya is pretty patient out there. He does waste some movements by swinging big, but I feel like he does need to. It might make him even be more patient and think about things even more if he's getting hit to the body. And it could adapt his cardio. We haven't really seen Ilya pass the third round other than against Zalal Muhammad. They went the distance. That was on short notice, and he was coming off being sick, I believe. And that was a wrestling-heavy attack from Ilya, so he did gas out in the third round a bit in that fight. But against Josh Emmett, they went all 5 rounds, and he pretty much smashed on Josh Emmett, put on a clinic, master class, performance, and he wasn't breathing hard at the end of that fight. I mean, it was a beat down, and he was still fighting. So I think it kind of depends on, you know, if you're zapping that gas tank, hitting him to the body, mixing up the grappling exchanges, all that. So also number 3, force the clinch. Kind of goes back to what I was saying with the knees, but I say utilize his knees and elbows immediately when he clinches. As soon as he grabs that clinch, you want to, Charles usually is pretty fast with the knees as soon as he gets the clinch, but you don't want to be like Islam Makhachev, just kind of holding on to the clinch and just looking for a trip or whatever, putting up against the cage, stuff like that, because that's going to open up a window for Ilya to unleash on the body with some uppercuts, you know, or over the top, you know, of that clinch, of the tie clinch. So I think what Charles does is once he does get that clinch, he's going to have to go for the knees immediately before Ilya lets off on the body. And also, you know, and elbows as well, his own elbows, because he got some sharp-ass elbows himself. So he's got to use that. As soon as he gets that clinch, hit an elbow, you know, hit those knees. I mean, I think that could be a huge factor to stopping Ilya, you know, in his tracks and maybe hurting him or cutting him at least, whatever. So definitely that. So the clinch game is going to be huge for Oliveira. It always has been. But I'm not saying hold him there and try to just go for a sweep, or a trip or a takedown from there. Do damage from the clinch. If you're going to get that clinch, start doing damage immediately. Yeah, so then also be patient and defensively responsible in the boxing range. You know, don't rush in there in the boxing, because he does have that high guard. He does walk straight forward. He doesn't have the best head movement. You know, he kind of just comes straight forward. So it's He's got to be wary of the body attack of Ilya and not drop his hands at the wrong time and get cracked up top. So in that boxing range, he's going to have to stay with the high guard, but he's also going to have to use his footwork in his feet to get in and out. So he don't have the best head movement. He's used his feet to get in and out a lot more just to get away from Ilya's shots because Ilya is going to be a lot shorter. But, yeah, excuse me. I'm talking too fast over here. My bad. I just got off the UPS. You can see straight out the truck, right into the studio. But yeah, for this breakdown, but I just had to make a video on this. This is like the fight I've been looking forward to the most all year. So I mean, other than it was Ilya Islam, but we're not getting that yet. So, but also yeah, number 5, just make Ilya pay with well-timed counters and try to time Ilya's head movement and level change. I talked a little bit about that with his feints and knees up the middle. One thing that Ilya likes to do is he does like to do the level change feints, like where he's just going to act like he's going to go for a shot, but he ducks his head a little bit. And if you've seen against Max Holloway, this worked to perfection to that takedown when he picked up Max and dumped him. Like he literally feinted Max. He got the reaction out of Max. And as soon as Max went back up, he went right back down and went for that takedown and shot that double, picked him up, dumped him. He wasn't able to hold him down, but he did a good job of timing and getting that read off of Max. So for Charles, he's going to have to look at those level feints and try to time it with knees, uppercuts, the straight kicks, or even like body kicks at, like if you catch a guy ducking down, kind of like DC and John Jones, go back to that fight. You know, DC had that tendency to duck his head, and John Jones, it's not like he threw such a high head kick. He just threw basically like a body kick, landed flush on DC's face and in his chin. So, I mean, that could happen for Oliveira too. So he's going to have to try and time those level feints and the head movement, like try to catch it when he's doing all that, because regardless, everyone has tendencies, and you could tell, you know, and he does get pretty low, and he's already low, so it's real easy to just, not easy, but if you can get that timing down with the knee, I mean, it's right there, you know. So that's definitely where Oliveira could have some success, knees up the middle, and also attempt takedowns himself and level feints as well. And be first in the grappling exchanges and scrambles, because we see Charles, like he's really like so quick with it and slick when it does come to a scramble. You know, he is going to be taller there, but he might be the slower guy there as well. So Ilya's going to be a little faster than him, so he's going to have to anticipate and use his own jiu-jitsu prowess and like, you know, skill set to anticipate what, you know, Ilya is going to do. So when he does get into those grappling exchanges, try to be first and like just be ahead of the game. What, you know, even use a setup so where he could have Ilya going one way, where he's like his chest there. You're setting a guy up to think one thing, he reacts to that, then you move to the next, you know, or you try to force a reaction to go back to that, you know, like it's a lot of that, you know. So it's always constantly thinking ahead, and he's gonna have to be multiple steps ahead of Ilya, because Ilya is going to be faster. He's going to be more explosive. Maybe not stronger, I don't know, because Charles do Bronx is a very big lightweight. So this could be you know, he could have the strength advantage there and the grappling as well if he gets in those, like, you know, advantageous positions, like on top, or if he gets in those type of positions, then yeah, he could definitely do some stuff to Ilya. If he gets his back, it could be trouble for Ilya big time. So he's going to have to be first in those scrambles, though, because Ilya does have a pretty good scrambling ability. He has a really good sprawl. Like, you could tell it's just a natural wrestler sprawl. He's got that Greco-Roman background, high-level black belt jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you guys haven't watched Ilya's first 8 fights before the UFC. His grappling, wrestling, submission game was on full display. He wasn't as confident with his hands yet, so he was literally just taking people down and smothering them and smashing on them and submitting them with all types of stuff, from darts to anacondas, arm bars, freaking mounted triangles, which are not easy to finish, you know. And these guys were lower level, lower tier fighters, but he did what you're supposed to do. You know, like, you got somebody like that you're better than, go and just destroy him, and that's what he did. He ran through these people, so he did what he was supposed to do. It'd be different if he was going to war with all these guys in the lower levels, you know. No, he was smashing all these guys, so he did what he was supposed to do. He did his job. And it just showed that he does have a high level understanding of the grappling game. So, which is, I think a lot of people are underestimating him just because he got taken down by Bryce Mitchell. Only time he's been taken down in his career. He has been on his back before. He got reversed in one of his earlier fights against a taller, longer guy as well with good jits. And he had a little problems with the guy, like the guy was tall. He had a good rubber guard type thing too. Like he was flexible, kind of like Charles. And, he had a little tough time with the guy, but ultimately he ended up, tapping him, but, submitting him. But I mean, the second round or third round, I believe, but it was a tough time. So, I mean, that body style could present problems to him as well. And last really is just be Charles. Make it wild, make it ugly, make it a dogfight. Go out there and do what you do. I don't want to see the patient Charles Oliveira too much unless you're going to be on the outside and outside of that boxing range. But you want to be going forward. You want to make this a dogfight because anything could happen when you guys are just two dogs are fighting and going at it and just strikes are flying, techniques are flying, punches, flying knees, elbows, kicks, knees. I mean, everything's flying, uppercuts. I mean, just anything could happen in those situations where you zigged, where you should have zagged, whatever, you get caught clean. Ilya, anybody, he almost got put out against Jai Herbert when he freaking didn't see that head kick coming. So, I mean, anything could happen there. Same thing with Charles. He's been rocked so many damn times, has 10 losses, been rocked by Gagey, Poirier. I mean, Chandler rocked him. I mean, Islam rocked him before he tapped him. So, I mean, there's definitely anything could happen in a fight. So I say, I think Charles Oliveira needs to do that. What he normally does, go to war. You don't want to see him on the outside trying to win a decision. He's probably not going to be able to do that because I don't even know if his cardio will hold up for 5 rounds with this insane pace he brings. So I'm saying make it a dogfight, make it ugly, make it greedy, and I think that's his best chance to catch Ilya in something, either on the feet or, with on the ground, whatever happens. So that's my Charles Oliveira keys to victory. Now we got Ilya Topuria keys to victory. And obviously it's going to be similar, a lot of stuff similar because both these guys do like to move forward in their style. So I say move forward with head movement and level change feints, which he does a lot, with more attention to defense of the knees and front kicks of Charles because like I said, like he's going to be level feinting. He's going to be doing the head movement thing that he does, bobbing and weaving just to get in there and kind of constantly feinting and moving, making Charles think like, what's he going to do? Is he going to try and shoot? Is he going to try to throw leg kicks? He's going to do whatever. So he's got to be wary though of Charles with the high knees. He's going to have to keep his distance a little bit, be a little bit more patient with it. He can't just rush in like crazy. Charles is going to be coming forward. So now he's going to have to try and snipe him and coming in instead of him closing the distance. Everyone else, you see Max. Max was on his horse that whole fight, which is pretty rare for Max. Max usually meets you in the middle and scraps. Max, and the same thing with Volkanovski. He was moving around, circling out, throwing a lot of jabs, a lot of kicks. Both of them had really kick-heavy attacks. I think that ever since the Jai Herbert fight, that's definitely what people are trying to. They think that could be a weakness of Ilya, is just constantly kicking and high kicks and left high kicks and body kicks and leg kicks and so a lot of these guys, you can see Max. I had never seen Max with such a kick-heavy attack. Volka has seen him throw a lot of leg kicks before, but he was throwing nothing but jabs, leg kicks, move, stick and move, stick and move. I don't really think that's Charles Oliveira's game. He's going to be throwing a lot of kicks for sure, but I think Ilya is definitely going to have to be a little bit more patient than just rushing in, unless he can get all the way in. He either be all the way in to the boxing range where he could let loose on some combos to the body, head, get in there and rip some stuff, or be all the way out of Charles' kicking range and his own range as far as his boxing, his kickboxing range. So I think Ilya is going to have to be, patient with it like that. Be able to make those reads, get in there close that distance quick, because Charles is going to help him and meet him in the middle. He's not going to have to like chase him down. He's going to be right there. So it's like when he gets there, let off, get out, get in, get out. I think that's a big thing for Ilya in this fight. Also throw a lot of straight punches because, like Charles does have some pretty nice hooks. So he hit Chandler with that nasty left hook in their first fight, second round when he dropped him. So he definitely has that. Like, be careful when he's actually exiting, getting out of that range, because that's just like when Chandler got caught. He threw something big. As he was exiting, that's when Charles cracked him and dropped him and then finished him. So it's like he's got to be careful with that. The head movement and the defense doesn't stop just when you get right out of boxing range. You still got to be wary of Charles because he is going to be the longer fighter and the rangier fighter and with way more weapons than any of these guys he's fought before. So so like when he's closing that distance, land a lot of leg kicks, do what he normally does with establish the pace of the fight, which don't get in an all-out firefight with Charles Oliveira. Make him fight, Ilya's fight. Make him fight your fight. That's what you need to do. He's pretty much been able to do that with people, being able to catch up to them after a while and make them do that. And I think that's what he's got to do, like maybe, and cut off the cage. Don't really follow Charles around. If Charles does try to start moving around more, cut off the cage. He does a pretty good job of that side-to-side motion, just to cut it off and just be there and always stay. He always stays in good position to land his big shots. That's the one thing I love about the way Ilya fights, because it really is just a boxer with leg kicks. But he's always in that good position. He really moves his feet well to just constantly be right there. And then he just kind of walks sideways just to, you're running around that way. He's just basically following you. But cutting it off, not like chasing you, more just cutting you off, cutting your angles off, so then you have to face him, and then have to engage. And he does a really good job of that. And he's got to, like I said, be way more defensive than he normally is here, because there's a lot more weapons coming at him in this fight. So yeah, another one is just attack Charles's body with hooks and uppercuts whenever there is a clinch. I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about Charles. Charles does get that clinch. You got to let off immediately with that body shots, make him pay for that clinch. There was a time when Volk was trying to clinch up with Ilya, and Ilya ripped that body real quick. Volk let go quick. And I think that one place that, I think we haven't seen Topuria hurt to the body much, but we have seen Charles Oliveira hurt to the body. I don't think he likes those body shots. He's a little on the skinnier side. He's got those big shoulders, big hands, long arms, all that. But he is a little skinny on the body, and I don't know if he likes those shots. So I'm saying rip that body. Get in there and just heavy hands to the body, just uppercuts as soon as there's a clinch, because you don't want Charles throwing knees right away, because Charles is going to he grabs a clinch, he's throwing the knee at the same time. So as soon as he goes for that clinch, you got to just start ribbing to the body, go over the top of that clinch with the overhand. The clinch come right over the top. There's an opening there, because you're going to be here holding or whatever, like trying to grab the back of the head. All this is open for an overhand to come right over the top, hit you around the jaw. So maybe not a knockout shot, but enough to maybe make Charles disengage, and then you can land a bigger shot. If you're, like Ilya, he throws combos, he throws punches and bunches. He's not just throwing a 1-2. He's throwing a 1, 2, 3, 4, another, like 1, 2, 3, 4, another 3. Like, he's throwing a lot. So he goes to that body too. So it's, mix it up with that. So definitely hurt Charles Oliveira's body. I think he's a little weak there. And also mix up the level change feints. We talked about that. Maybe throwing a takedown in there. One thing Ilya has done pretty well with his takedowns, he stays pretty safe. Like he gets super low, like high level takedowns. When he times those double legs, he gets low enough so he's not like in a guillotine position. His head's on the right side, and he's dumping these guys, grabbing his arms, dumping the legs, and getting out of like a danger zone for attacks like guillotines. Like he's passing the legs, passing the guard, stuff like that. So, if he does go for a takedown, he's going to have to make sure he's not so high up on the body where, Charles Oliveira is so slick. Like if there's any room anywhere, he's going to reach in there. He's going to go for a Darce. He's going to go for a guillotine. He's going to go for a choke. He's quick with it like that. He's going to have way longer arms, so he could and skinny arms, so he could just get in those little nooks and crannies to get in there and get that neck. So he's definitely going to have to be, I think, a lot more on the feint side of it, not so much always trying to get Charles down. Charles did get taken down by Arman, but he also threatened a lot of submissions with Arman too. So, I don't know how much danger Arman was actually in. It was a very close fight. Arman said he was okay. He was able to take Charles down, like I said, with some nice takedowns, but he was still able to get in those submissions. But Charles was not able to submit him. He wasn't able to submit Arman or Michael Chandler. Both those guys are like 5'7"-ish, 5'6", 5'7", just like Ilya. So, maybe there's something to be said for that Ilya, won't be so easy to submit in those grappling situations as long as he can stay safe. And he has very high level. If you watch, like I said, his transitions from submission to submission is really high level in his scrambling ability and his takedowns. And like I said, his Greco-Roman background. We haven't seen it too much. We've seen him kind of manhandle Bryce Mitchell after, Bryce Mitchell did take him down, timed it perfect. I think it was a single, went to a double, took him down, held him down for like a minute, 40 seconds, whatever it was. But he tapped Bryce Mitchell with an arm triangle and just kind of manhandled him in the second round. And pretty much, like I said, if you go back before UFC, he was manhandling everybody. He was just dominating on the ground. So he definitely has that, and that's not going to be as easy as I think I think most people would think that just if it hits the ground, Charles is finishing Ilya. Like a lot of like, I don't say most people because a lot of people that actually have went back and did their due diligence and watched Ilya's fights before the UFC, they could see that he's pretty high level. So, but I think, and what he even did to Ryan Hall, I mean, he smashed on Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall was doing his 50-50, trying to do his Imanari rolls, and Ilya wasn't having it. He just grounded and pounded and knocked his ass out. So he stifled everything. So, I mean, he definitely has a good high-level understanding. But that being said, once you get rocked in the jaw, the chin, you lose belts. So it doesn't matter. You lose all understanding. So, and Charles could tap anyone, especially after he rocks him. So definitely mixed, but you still got to keep Charles guessing, with the feints, obviously the head movement, the level change feints. You got to keep him thinking like you don't know what's going to happen or what's coming. And like Charles, it needs to be first in those grappling scrambles. He can't be sitting in there. He's got to stay safe. Kind of like what I talked about a little already. Like he's got to stay safe. Like if he does get a takedown, be patient there. Don't just run in and try to rush into positions that's going to get you off balance. Because Charles is, like I said, he's the best. He's one of the best there is. He is the best of all time as far as submitting people. So in the UFC. So I mean, you definitely got to be. He's crafty. He's a crafty vet. Seen it all, and he's done it all. So I mean, you definitely can't make a mistake when you're out there and just get, overzealous or hesitant either. You got to jump on it, so and just be first. And also just expect the unexpected with Charles Oliveira, because then be ready to counter with precise power shots and keep the pace and pressure. As like I said before earlier, Charles has only been in one 5-round decision. I mean, this guy, it's kill or be killed with Charles Oliveira. You know what I mean? Like he has, I think, 31 finishes or something like that. And his losses are, every time he's lost has been a finish too, I think, what I mean? So, I mean, he's not going to decision. This fight's definitely not going to the judges. Both these guys, I don't think, really care too much about the decision, other than Josh Emmett. Ilya's been finishing everyone. And even though he might be behind in a fight against Max and Volk, he might have been behind in both those fights. I mean, they're close fights, but could have went either way on the scorecards. But it's like he don't care. It's only a matter of time before he lands something big, changes the whole, the whole fight, changes everything, fight changing, power. So, I mean, I think that's what he's going to have to do is just keep that pace up and land the body shots and, outwork Charles. And I think Charles could gas. We haven't seen him really go that far other than Chandler and in the 5th round in that fight, after he basically dominated Chandler for 4 rounds, had his back almost every round. And for like the majority of the round, he was just beating the shit out of Chandler, basically outclassing him. And Chandler still was able to rock him in the 5th round and almost finish that fight and pull off a Hail Mary win in the last bottom of the 9th type thing. But so that's definitely something that could be a factor if it gets into those later championship rounds, which I don't think so. I think it's only going, inside of 3. But that's what I'm thinking. Also, like I said, if it does go to the ground, you do drop Charles Oliveira. Don't be like Justin Gaethje. Don't be like Dustin Poirier. Don't be like these guys and not chase him to the ground. If you drop him, just like you did Max Holloway, I'm talking to Ilya, jump on him and finish him. Hammer fist, finish the fight. Follow him down there. Don't give him time to recover, because then he could come back and land something big, either submission or a freaking big shot up top and just finish the fight, change the whole fucking rock your world. So yeah, so that'll bring me to my actual prediction, my pick. That was a long ass breakdown. My bad. I wasn't planning on talking for that long. I was just all these points I was thinking of, and I'm excited about this fight. But I'm picking Ilya to Poirier. To me, this is a 50-50 fight. Like, a lot of these fights, these matchups, when you cut to this level, it still is 50-50. And what I mean, that I definitely feel like Topuria is a favorite for a reason. He deserves it, what he's done, recently. Charles hasn't looked his best in the last couple fights. He's lost to, kind of went 2-2 in his last 4, and even got finished by Islam. but he looked a little slower against Chandler, but he is always dangerous. So from the minute the opening bell until the referee pulls somebody off, pulls somebody off the other opponent, I mean, this is definitely going to be a barn burner and the most dangerous fight for either one of them. So Charles definitely is going to be dangerous the entire time. That's why I'm saying it's still like a 50-50 fight, because he can catch anyone in submission. He's just always dangerous off his back, on top, on the feet, everywhere. But right now we're talking, he's almost 36 years old. He was looking a little slower against Chandler, and I mean, I just don't know. It's going to be a tough matchup for him, as far as, because he does come forward, and I feel like Topuria is going to be able to catch that chin early. I'm not saying he finishes him in the first round like he's claiming. I still think it's going to go, I think, inside of 3, maybe the second or third round even, maybe even the third. It's possible. But I do feel like Ilya is going to catch him clean, maybe to the body or to the head, and he's going to get a finish, either a TKO, knockout type. I don't know if he puts Charles out cold. I think it could be a TKO, like a referee stoppage, if he rocks him and just finishes him, with just some brutal shots, or it could just be like a submission situation like Islam did. He rocked him on the feet, fought him to the ground, and choke him out. I could see that happening too. But I could see it happening for either guy, but I've got to make a pick. So I'm going with Ilya, and you, 2-time undefeated double champ. I mean, it's insane. It's insane what he's been able to do so far. And just think about it. If he beats Volk, Max, and Charles back to back to back, that's like legendary. That is La Leyenda. He was changing his name to. That's definitely legendary status in the making. That's 3 legends in a row if he can pull this off. But like I said, it's not going to be an easy fight. Charles is right there. He's going to be dangerous the whole time he's freaking alive. He's conscious. He's going to be dangerous. And there's definitely a path to victory for him as well. So, I mean, that's what makes this fight interesting. That's what makes this fucking sport. So that's why I love this sport, because anything can happen in a fight. But, yeah, I'm definitely going for Ilya in this one. And I think he's going to catch him clean, man. He's got too much power, too much speed, too much head movement and skill. And I think he's got just barely even getting to his prime, 28 years old, just getting better and better each fight. If you see his progression in the UFC and throughout his career, he's getting a little better. And I think Charles, obviously, he's still improving. Everyone's still improving, but he's gonna be getting a little slower. I mean, he's gonna have to slow down. He's been in a lot of wars, been hurt so many times. 10 losses, I get it, it's a lot. Most of those in the featherweight, but I mean, he has been in a lot of fucking wars, and I think there's no different. There's gonna be another war. I just think that Ilya is gonna catch him clean at some point, rock his world, and we'll be on you, and then we'll see what's next. If it's gonna be Islam and Ilya, if Islam's gonna come down after the JDM fight, or is Ilya gonna actually try to be a 3-division champ and move up? I mean, who knows? But first, we gotta handle business. UFC 317 on Saturday, International Fight Week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about the breakdown. Like I said, it was a little long-winded. My bad. I just got off work, so I just had to spit some out. Get some of this off my chest. Been thinking about this matchup since they announced it. But yeah, like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Who takes it? What round? Like I said, I'm saying the second round. I'll say by the end of the second round. I'm thinking it won't go past 3, but I'll say the second round, just because Charles is not as durable even though he's been rocked a lot and came back and won. But I just feel like Max was able to go 3, and he started getting caught. He was catching Max, before that. I don't know if Charles will be able to take that for 3 rounds, but we'll see. We'll see, because Charles has a lot in his arsenal as well. So, but yeah, that's all I got, and see you guys next time.